one of the things that he said in here that I was going to read to you is that we are like a radio set. Of course, this was written in the 40s, 1940s, so that was their technology back in the day. We're like a radio set, this human mind of ours. And in order for us to hear the finer vibrations of God, we have to tune to a higher frequency. We have to literally get our mindset lifting up so we can hear the angels speak to us and hear the divine talk to us. You see? And these beings who came to participate in this great event had tuned to a frequency where they could hear. They didn't have just faith that God would help them. They had a knowing that they could connect to God. And they tuned up to listen to where they needed to be and what they needed to do. And the whole message of love is about listening to Spirit, is it not? Getting your focus from matter and into that divine. All right. Everything was prepared, and I'd like to share with you from the Aquarian the story of his birth. On New Year's or Christmas Eve, we always read Luke, because I love Luke. I love the story of Jesus' birth as Luke tells it. So this is the Aquarian. The time was near when Jesus was to be born, and Mary longed to see Elizabeth. This was her cousin. And she and Joseph turned their faces toward the Judean hills. When upon their way they had come to Bethlehem, the day was done, and they must tarry for the night. But Bethlehem was thronged with people going to Jerusalem. The inns and homes were filled with guests, and Joseph and his wife could not find a place to rest, except in a cave where animals were kept, and there they slept. At midnight came a cry, "A child is born in yonder cave among the beasts, and lo, the promised Son of Man was born." Strangers took the little one and wrapped him in the dainty robes that Mary had prepared and laid him in the trough from which the beasts of burden fed. 3 persons, clad in snow-white robes, came in and stood before the child and said, "All strength, all wisdom, and all love be yours, Emmanuel." 3 celestial beings. Whether angels or beings of the divine, we don't know. But they appeared and said, "All strength, all wisdom, and all love be yours, Emmanuel." Now on the hills of Bethlehem were many flocks of sheep, with the shepherds guarding them. The shepherds were devout, they were men of prayer, and they had been waiting long for a deliverer to come. And when the child of promise came, a man in snow-white robe appeared to them, and they fell back in fear. And the man stood forth and said, "Fear not. Behold, I bring you joyful news. At midnight in a cave in Bethlehem was born the prophet and the king that you have been waiting for." And then the shepherds all were glad. They felt that all the hills were filled with messengers of light who said, "All glory be to God on high, peace, peace on earth, goodwill to men." And then the shepherds came with haste to Bethlehem, to the cave, that they might see and honor him whom men had called Emmanuel. In the moment of his birth, everyone was there. People helped Mary deliver. She wasn't alone. Angels appeared to acknowledge the presence of this being of light who came. Have you ever held a newborn baby? Have you looked into its face? Do you know what you see? You see the sweet innocence of God. But if you look a little closer, you'll see what they came to do. You'll see their little mission all over their face. "I'm here to do this." And they'll tell you, "I'm here to do this." And if you pay attention, you bless them and say, "Good, I will support you in your journey." They bring the sweet innocence, but they bring their mission. And I believe that that's what everyone saw when they held that child. They saw the innocence of a baby wrapped in the magnificence of the Christ. And everyone was where they needed to be. Now when the morning came, a shepherdess whose home was near prepared a room for Mary and Joseph and the child, and here they tarried many days. And Joseph sent a messenger in haste to Zacharias and Elizabeth, who's John the Baptist's parents, and they came to Bethlehem. Mary and Elizabeth recounted all the wondrous things that had transpired, and the people joined them in praising God. Love, wisdom, and strength. In the entry of a spirit onto the earth, they become, it's their final point of entering and owning the body. Anyone who's carried a baby in your tummy, you know that soul comes and goes. It'll be in your belly, it'll be out of your belly. It's going and playing around in the ethers. But once it's born, it claims that body as its own, and its mission begins. The universe was there for the beginning of this mission. The support of his journey was there, because his mission was to bring the face of God to man. And he did it throughout his entire walk. He walked in love. He walked in peace. I wanted to share with you when he was 24. It says, Jesus was 24 and he was going home from Persia. He went to Persepolis, the city where the kings of Persia were entombed, the city of the learned Magi, the wise men, Hor, Lun, and Myrrh, the three wise men, who 24 years before had seen the star of promise rise above Jerusalem, and who had journeyed to the west to find the newborn king. They were the first to honor Jesus as the master of the age, and they gave him gifts of gold, gumpas, and myrrh. These magi knew, by ways that masters always know, when Jesus neared Persepolis. And they girt themselves and went to meet him on the way. And when they met, a light much brighter than the light of day surrounded them. And men who saw the four stood and declared they were transfigured, seeming more like gods than men. Now Hor and Lun were aged men, and Jesus placed them on his beast to ride into Persepolis, while he and Myrrh led the way. When they reached the Magi's home, they all rejoiced, and Jesus told the thrilling story of his life. Hor and Lun and Myrrh spoke not. They only looked to heaven, and in their hearts praised God. You know, all of us have a place in the Christing of this planet. The wise men only saw him for a minute, just a minute. But he honored them so, he came back to pray with them. They stayed in meditation for 7 days after that moment. The touch of God in our hearts is so powerful. Even if our mission is not overtly ministry or healing or whatever we might consider God work. This is God work. Christing this human nature, Christing our planet, awakening us to understand God is God work, no matter where we are. And we are all loved, dearly, dearly loved. Jesus is our master. He is our teacher. He holds that energy of oneness with God. And he turns to us and says, follow me. Not follow me into the ministry if that's not your calling. Follow me in your heart. Follow me. Follow me to the space where matter does not matter. Where spirit matters and love matters. You know, some of us that are aged enough to have been through many years on this earth, we realize the things that we considered so important when we were younger are not.